Episode 42 of Weekly Sports Talk with Ed. As y'all see on the bottom, going to be starting with NHL playoff predictions, and it does start tomorrow. I'm doing this late at night, so most of y'all will probably see it in the morning, but I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with NHL predictions. I'm going to be doing a recap of TNA Unbreakable, which took place. It was really good. Might could be in contention for a pay-per-view of the year. Uh, I'm trying to get this live out now. Pro volleyball, I'm be talking about that as well. The Pro Volleyball Federation, what what team seasons are pretty much over. Talk about a little bit of baseball as well. So I'm going to get into it in a second. But yeah, this been a fun hockey season. I've enjoyed it. I've already did my NBA predictions, so y'all want to check that out. Make sure y'all see that on my channel, my NBA awards video and stuff like that. Thought about doing an NHL awards video, but this is only my second season watching hockey, so maybe next year, or I could do it this year. But we're gonna get into the playoff predictions in a second. So let's see. We got, like I said, this was a good season for. This was a good hockey season. I enjoyed it. I still don't have a favorite hockey team yet. I'll decide on that maybe next year. I see. All right, as far as the first matchup goes, I'm gonna do it by conference. I'm gonna start with the Western Conference. Then I'm gonna do all the Western Conference matchups. Then do the Eastern Conference matchups. Then I talk about who I think is winning the Stanley Cup. But for the first matchup in the Western Conference, in the first round, the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues. The Jets have been elite all season. They have a plus 58 point. Now they have a plus 86 point differential. 58 with somebody else, and they looked elite in really every area of the game. And then Connor Connor Hellebuck, he's been the best goalie this season, at least in my opinion. So I think the Jets win this before, and they also had an experience factor heading into this game. So I see them winning this series in 4 games. The Dallas Stars versus Colorado Avalanche. It's That's a battle with Jason Robinson against Nathan McKinnon. This could be a fun one, but I think the Avalanche will take this one 6. I have seen more of the Avalanche, so just eye test wise, I've seen them more than I have seen the Stars this season. So I would take the Avalanche in this series, but the Stars have a really good chance of winning that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to come away with the win in that series. It could definitely go 6 to 7 games. The Vegas Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. Uh, that President's Trophy has a supposed curse, but we will see. Hey, the Vegas Golden Knights and Minnesota Wild. I'm thinking for this one, I'm thinking with Vegas having Aiden Hill, and I think I watched Vegas the most this season out of any team. Like I'd be up late watching 8 games. But I might as well make Vegas my favorite team. I still haven't decided on who my favorite hockey team gonna be yet, but I have watched a lot of Vegas games this season. But I think with Aiden Hill being one of the best goalies as well, and them having Brady McNabb, I would lean with Vegas in 5 over the Minnesota Wild. I don't think the Wild getting that far in the postseason. I think they'll run in the first round. Then the Los Angeles Kings and Edmonton Oilers, that last first round matchup for the West. I would go. This gonna be a tough one because Leon Dressel, he's had a great year. Connor McDavid, he's looking good this year, and that's on the Oilers side. But then with the Kings, they got home ice, so it's like that makes it hard for me to predict this series. I think since Connor McDavid, he's entering the later part of his career, I think he's more motivated this year. So in this first round, I'm gonna go, and then the Kings have home ice. I'm gonna go to Oilers in 7. I think they'll be able to take it in 7. But if I say 7, that means the series can go either way. So the Kings and the Oilers, they have a good chance of winning this. I know they played a few nights ago, and the Oilers didn't look good in that game, but not everybody was playing that game, and the season was pretty much confirmed for both of those teams already. So we'll see what happens, but I do think it's a 7 game series, and I will take the Oilers because I think Connor McDavid in for a solid postseason run. Now for the second round in the Western Conference, I would have the Winnipeg Jets matching up with the Colorado Avalanche. I think Cal, I think Cal Connor would be too much for the Avalanche to handle. So I would take the Jets in 5 games, and the Jets are just looked weak this season. But Winnipeg's had a really good season. They're definitely gonna be able to get far. And as far as Vegas versus the Oilers go, if that was to happen, I'm thinking Vegas in 6. I think what Brandon McNabb can do, he can get this team far. He can definitely lead them to the Western Conference Finals. Like I said, Aiden Hill, he's gonna do a thing as a goalie. He's not gonna be giving up a lot of goals. So that will leave me with a Western Conference Finals of the Winnipeg Jets versus the Vegas Golden Knights. This is one of the tough ones to predict if this is to happen because I don't even have a definitive amount of games. I have like on my notes, I have 6 or 7 because it's really tough to predict. I am going with the Jets for this one because I think the Jets have been much better at closing games this season than Vegas has. So that's why I would take the Jets. So I will go with the Jets. Yeah, I'll go with the Jets in 6 or 7 games in that series. And then, so I had the Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup Finals. Now for the Eastern Conference, uh, the Maple Leafs versus the Senators. William Nylander's been elite all season. I think the Leafs win this in 5 games. I don't think they're gonna let this series get out of hand. I don't think, I really don't expect much from it. Now, Tampa Bay versus the Florida Panthers. I know people aren't giving Florida a lot of a chance despite them winning the Stanley Cup last year. And last season was my first season watching hockey. So seeing a team in Florida win a hockey championship is crazy to me because just think of that environment. But anyways, the Florida Panthers, I do think this is a good matchup, and I do think it'll go 7 games because what Ryan, whoa, what Sam Reinhart, what he's gonna be able to do, that's gonna be great. But then Brandon Point, he'll be just as good for Tampa Bay. So I'm leaning towards Panthers in 7, just because they did win the championship last year. So I definitely think they can get, well, I won't say they can get back to that point, but they're definitely capable of winning this first round matchup. So I will take the Panthers in this matchup. The Washington Capitals, who've been having a really great season, are playing the Montreal Canadiens in the first round. I mean, the Capitals have 11 more wins. They've had a great season. Logan Thomas and Dylan Storm, they've been great this season. I see the Capitals sweeping this series. I think the Capitals can win in 4, take care of business, and have a deep playoff run. For the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils, I think the Devils win this one in 6. Seth Jarvis, I don't know if he'll be able to replicate what he did in the regular season for the Hurricanes. So I'm gonna take the Devils in 6 with this one. So that leads me to the Eastern Conference second round for the NHL. I would go with that leaves me with the Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. I do think the Maple Leafs will win. I think I would take them in 6. The Maple Leafs have been the better team. Despite Florida winning the championship, they won't be able to replicate what they were able to do last season. I wanted to say that because I wanted to talk about it in this matchup. What they were able to do last season, I don't see them going back to back. It's reasonable for their odds to be low. Their odds are super low to win the Stanley Cup again. But it would be a competitive series. They wouldn't get swept. They wouldn't lose in 5. But it definitely would probably go. It'll be a 6-game series most likely, and they'll probably lose in this. And I think the Maple Leafs, they've just been the better team all year. I don't think they will get outplayed. I don't think they will get to the point of the playoffs and choking this matchup. Then the Washington Capitals versus New Jersey Devils. I think the Capitals, just based off of how good they've been this season, they can match up well against any team. And I would take the Capitals at 5 in this series. Then for the Eastern Conference Finals, the Maple Leafs and the Washington Capitals. Now these two teams are separated by 1 win, I think, or they have the same amount of wins, but it was the losses in overtime, which is how Washington ended up with the first seed and how they would have home ice. What's up, Abby? So for that series, I would lean with the Maple Leafs and 7, because once again, that's a tough one to predict. But then that would lead me to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Winnipeg Jets and Toronto Maple Leafs. I take the Jets to 6 with Connor Hellebuck winning the Stanley Cup MVP. So those are my NHL playoff predictions as the NHL playoffs start tomorrow. I think I think the Winnipeg Jets go all the way. I think it's gonna be them and the Maple Leafs as the last two teams, and that's how I see things wrapping up. So next, okay, it's time to change the banner because now we are get that off. TNA Unbreakable that took place last night, and I didn't watch it until today. I watched it earlier today. So the first match was Eric Young versus JDC versus Zachary Wentz, which was a qualified triple threat match to determine who would be going to the finals of the triple threat match later to determine the first ever international champion in TNA history. This was a good match. You had Eric Young and JDC teaming up in the beginning, which was kind of weird because it's not like Zachary Wentz is some big dude, but they actually all around the same height, the same weight. Well, maybe not weight, but that was interesting. Eric Young did end up getting the win in this match. It was a good match, and Eric Young advanced to the finals. But the interesting part about, well, I'll get into that in the next triple threat. Because you had the next triple threat match, which was Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, and Steve Macklin. So they were in the other triple threat match. And AJ Francis, he had already qualified. So now you had AJ Francis and Eric Young who were in the finals for the TNA International Championship triple threat. That was going to be the main event of the show. So then you had there was a lot of good spots in this match. This match was fun. I think I enjoyed this match more than the first one. This probably should have been the opening match with Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, and Steve Macklin. Because all three men, they just did a really good job working together. Obviously, Alicia Edwards, she got involved in the match. And then I'm pretty sure Alicia Edwards, she hit Eddie Edwards on accident after Steve Macklin caught her hand or something like that. Then Eddie Edwards, yeah, that was after he had got stuck in the ropes. And Steve Macklin would end up getting the win. So the triple threat match would be Steve Macklin, Eric Young, and AJ Francis later in the night. With the stipulation for that match crowning the first international champion, whoever lost but didn't take the pin would get a match for the championship at Rebellion. So we'll get into that once I talk about that match. But you had Moose, he had an open challenge. I don't even think it was for the belt. He just had an open challenge. And Sidney Akeem, aka Reggie, if y'all remember him from WWE, he accepted the challenge. And he looked really good in that match. I mean, but I still don't like how they're booking Moose to the fact that he had to use a low blow to win this match. Like, I know yesterday being a superstar, but he can lose that match clean. Moose shouldn't have to low blow Sidney Akeem. But that really don't make sense to me. The way they've been booking Moose this year, it's been really weird. And he's probably dropping that X Division Championship soon, which he should. And it's a guy I have in mind for that. But yeah, Moose should lose the X Division Championship. And I don't even think it was the X Division Championship match. It was good, but I didn't like the ending of it with Alicia Edwards, with her being sent to the back. Moose low blowing Sidney Akeem to get the win. I felt like that was unnecessary, and all that could have been avoided. Like, it's Moose at the end of the day. Then next match you have Mustafa Ali and Ryan and Nick Newell team up to take on Mike Santana and the Hardy Boys. This was a fun 3-on-3 match. The Hardys was in control of the match early. You had Ryan Newell was taking a lot of pain in this match early on. He really went through it. Then it got to one point where Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali, they fought all the way to the back. They fought to backstage, and then Mike Santana, he actually came back during the match. Mustafa Ali never showed up again. And Mike Santana, he ended up coming back to help the Hardy Boys win the match. And then later, Mike Santana, he wanted the False Count Anywhere match with Mustafa Ali, which that got made official for Rebellion. But yeah, front 3-on-3 match. The Hardy Boys and Mike Santana getting the win made sense. Mike Santana taking the pin made sense. But they'll probably double back on this. And once they do the tag team match with the Hardy Boys and the Nemeth brothers, Ryan and Nemeth will probably get the pin so they'll become tag team champions. They definitely gonna circle back to that. Then the system, they showed them be taking out Zachary Wentz. I don't know where Trey Miguel was his tag team partner. Because I was thinking he was going to show up at some point, but it was JDC and Eddie Edwards, I think. They was just beating him up, and then they left. They left the arena. So a hit and run attack on Zachary Wentz for no reason, really. So that happened. Then get to Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard versus Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich. Got the two challenges for the World Championships going against the World Champions. The best part of this match was equal rights, equal fights. The the men and women were hitting each other in the match, and it was nothing the ref could do about it. It was allowed, it was legal, so do your thing, I guess. And that wasn't the most. That's not really egregious because TNA did something outstandingly egregious later in the night. But this was a fun match. Frankie Kazarian accidentally clothesline, or it wasn't a clothesline, but he accidentally hit Masha Slamovich, which led to Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich getting the win. And then Joe Hendry, him with a torn rotator's cup or whatever. Yeah, that it's definitely not torn because he wouldn't be wrestling. But him playing into that and him, like, it didn't even seem like the injury affected him because he was deadlifting Frank Kazarian with a bad arm. But I don't think like the injury really affected him. So how am I supposed to buy that he's actually injured? But yeah, and then you had Mike. I already talked about the Mike Santana thing. Ace Austin, he brought up Chris Bay, and Chris Bay had a segment. Chris Bay is out with a very serious neck injury. I don't know if he will ever return to the ring. Hopefully he does someday. But the segment was good, and I like that they let him come out there and have his own little segment. And Ace Austin, he was the right person to have to come out there with him. It made sense. Oh, the next match, a barbed wire massacre between Mance Warner and Sami Callihan. I'm gonna be fair because I didn't like the stuff that Moxley was doing with some of the egregious spots that he does. But this match was full of egregious spots. The ring was covered in barbed wire with barbed wire doors with a barbed wire video game controller. And I've seen nothing about how egregious it was. And the match was good, don't get me wrong, but this is just unnecessary. Like they have a heated and intense feud, but a barbed wire massacre. The fact that they had that match ready is insane to me. And the fact that both of these guys were willing to do this is actually insane. When the fans are chanting you're a sick fuck to both of these guys, they mean that. They're not playing into what they should. They mean that. Because both of these guys are sick for that. And I enjoyed it, but not everybody's going to enjoy these type of matches. These wrestling companies can't be doing death matches and stuff like this consistently. Because it does get to a point, it's like 30 seconds into the match and Mance Warner is already bleeding. Like, okay. It was a cool match for what it was. And except the Lander, she looked very concerned for Mance Warner on the outside. But Sami Callihan ended up getting the win to end the match. Hit a spoiled cactus driver, 97. He hit that, ended up getting a win. It was a good match. Elijah had a concert for whatever reason, but it was kind of pointless. I didn't really get the point of it being on the show. But then you had the triple threat match between AJ Francis, Steve Macklin, and Eric Young for the TNA International Championship to crown the first ever TNA International Champion. Obviously, Steve Macklin and Eric Young haven't been getting along lately, but they teamed up in this match to eliminate AJ Francis to try to make him a non-factor. Obviously, that didn't last forever, but they did a good job with that because it plays well into the story. Like, they still have respect for each other, and at the end of the day, you have to do what you got to do to try to get the win. And that was a smart decision. That was the best thing that they could do because it made the most sense. And then they had their moments where they went at it, and there was some cool moments where they were able to go at it. But AJ Francis and there was some cool spots too, like AJ Francis hitting the double AA basically, Francis hitting Eric Young with TFL, and then that's how Francis ended up getting caught by Steve Macklin. But then Steve Macklin, he was able to get his stuff in and pin AJ Francis to get the win. And so Steve Macklin is the first ever TNA International Champion. So shout out to Steve Macklin. And now it's looking like, and so because Eric Young didn't take the pin, he gets a match for the championship at Rebellion. And that plays well into the story. I was hoping that AJ Francis would have won because I feel like he's been doing great work for TNA, and I feel like he deserved to get a crucial win during that moment. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the win. Steve Macklin's not a bad choice. I had no problem with Steve Macklin winning it. But it's just like, man, I wish he could have won it. I feel like that would have made for a great moment. But now we're finna move on from TNA. Let's change the banner once again. We talk about the Pro Volleyball Federation. If y'all don't know, the PVF is the Pro Volleyball Federation. which started last year. This is the second season. It's going most of these teams have played 23, 24 games already. So we talking about some of the teams whose seasons are pretty much over. Like the Omaha Supernovas, they're 17-8. They've been really good this season. It's no way that they don't stay at least in the top two. The Atlanta Vibe, they 16-8. They've been looking good lately. The Orlando Valkyries are 14-10. And then it comes down to the last five spots with the Indy Ignited 12-11 with 23 games into the season. The Grand Rapids Rise at 10-14. The Vegas Fuel at 9-14. The San Diego Mojo at 8-15, and the Columbus Fury at 8-16. It's like it's a few, even though it's 28 games in the season, and like the Columbus Fury, they could win because it's 28 games, so they could win 4 games in a row to get 12. But they would still, I think Indy would still have the advantage. So the two team seasons that I think are definitely over. For sure, the Columbus Fury, who are my favorite team, the way they start games is so bad. They don't get off the hot starts in the sets. Like they have to be like next season, they have to get better start. Like the serve needs to be better. You need like this team. It's a lot of areas where Columbus can improve. So I feel like their season is definitely over. I don't see a world where we get to that point where even if we do win 4 in a row, I don't think it'll matter because I don't see Indy losing 4 straight. I just don't think that's a possibility for them. For them to lose 4 or 5 straight, I just don't think that's realistic. And then the San Diego Mojo, I think their season is over as well. They're 8-15. They just lost the game to the Columbus Fury. Like both of y'all are struggling, and San Diego needed that win more than the Fury did. So it's like once you lose into the worst team in the league and you need that win more than them, because really you're both playing for nothing. But you can have at least a little bit of momentum because maybe that 9 wins gives you some hope. But San Diego, they need to pick it up next season too. I think it's over for them as far as this season goes. And the last team I think it's over for is the Vegas Fuel. Actually, no, I take that back. I think now the top 3 teams I mentioned, Omaha, Atlanta, and Orlando, those are the top 3 teams. I think it's gonna stay between those 3. Omaha and Atlanta could fluctuate. They could change. Orlando probably stays at 3. Then it comes down to who's getting 4 between the Indy Ignite, Grand Rapids Rise, and Vegas Fuel. Now Vegas is 9-14, so they're 3 games behind. But Indy is on the Rise only 2.5 games behind. That's what makes it tough. Because Indy has been inconsistent all season, so they could finish at 500. But the Rise and Vegas, they can't afford to lose, which is just unrealistic. So their seasons are pretty much looking like it's over. I mean, I think the Rise have a better chance than Vegas does, but both teams' seasons, I think, are pretty much over. Like, you can lock in the Omaha Supernovas, Atlanta Vibe, and Orlando Valkyries in the top 3. Omaha probably finished 1. They're 17-6 right now. I don't see them not finishing 1. Atlanta 16-8. They probably finished there. Then Orlando's 14-10. They already have a 2-game lead on the 4th seed. So the last spot in the PVF playoffs going to come down to one of 3 teams. Will that be the Indy Ignite, Grand Rapids Rise, or Vegas Fuel? I think it'll be Indy because even though they've been inconsistent, they've been consistently inconsistent. They're 12-11, so they'll probably finish the season 14-14 or 15-13. I definitely think that's a possibility for the Indy Ignite. I can see that for sure. But yeah, like I said, PVF been good this year. And we're going to we're gonna move to the next topic real soon. I just gotta get one thing pulled up to make sure. Nice. Okay, got that. I like having these banners. I'm gonna talk about a little bit of baseball because this thing not gonna be super long. It'll probably be like 30 minutes, probably somewhere around there, 30-35 minutes. But the MLB, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the teams and how they've been this season. Now, we'll start with the American League, and we can, the American League East, it's the Yankees being up here, that's not surprising me. The Orioles I thought would have been better. supposed to be the best team, but 8-11. I feel like that's kind of disappointing for the Orioles so far. And mind you, we're not 1/5 of a way through the season so far, so I'm just going off of what I've seen in face value so far. It's just 19 games in. But I'm surprised that they're 8-11. Like, I thought they would have been better than the Red Sox this year. But the American League Central, this is the division I really want to talk about because the Twins, who actually the White Sox are still bad, terrible, atrocious. They're not even my team, but the White Sox are 4-15, and by far have the worst record in the American League. Like I know they had a really bad season last year, and they went 41-121. This looked like the same thing. Like there's no way this team can be that bad again. The Twins were pretty. They had like an 80-win season, so I'm surprised they aren't off to that same type of start. Like they're 7-13, but I would figure they'd probably be like. Because that's 20 games. I thought they'd be like a 10-10 team. I thought they'd have a few more wins. I didn't think they'd do nothing special, but I feel like they were a middle of the pack team once again. I definitely saw that. The Guardians being second in the division is disappointing to me because I thought they'd be better than the Tigers this season. Because I thought the Cleveland Guardians, I thought they'd be something special this year. I thought, especially after how good they were last season, I thought they'd pick up off of that and continue to improve. But I guess not. And then I talk about the two players I got up here. The American League West. I mean, it's just looking. It's hard to tell who's going to win it at this point of the season. Because, like I said, we're not a fifth of the way through. The fifth is like 33, 35 games, somewhere around there. But Julio Rodriguez is my favorite baseball player. That's why I had a Mariners jersey, even though I'm a Cardinals fan. But I like Julio Rodriguez. That's the reason I started watching baseball more because of him. So, and I haven't watched Mariners too much this season. I got to watch them. I need to start catching up on some more of the games. This was a busy weekend, so I'm definitely after this weekend. I'm definitely catch up on some Mariners games. They've been 10-10. They're just middle of the pack, which that's getting them by in the division. They got them in third. They could easily fall by tomorrow or easily move up just because of how bad they not even bad, but it's just this division just looks mediocre so far this year. There's really no team in the American League that truly pulled away. Like the Yankees are 13-7, but then you have other teams after that who you got the Blue Jays at 12-8, you got the Tigers and Rangers at 12-8. And I was wrong about the Tigers, at least so far. I thought the Tigers would be worse than what they are. Not the Tigers, the Rangers, the Texas Rangers. I'm tripping. Well, I was wrong about the Tigers too, but the National League, this one, we will start the West because you see the Padres, they're off to a great start, 15-5. They're looking better than the Dodgers so far this year. We're 15-6, so it's not that big of a difference. Shohei Ohtani's still been good this season. You obviously know what you're going to get out of him, but he's not the only one doing it. What am I thinking about? It's not somebody on the Dodgers I'm thinking about. Who is it? I'm mad because I'm trying to think of somebody who's one of the Dodgers' most impactful players, and I can't think of his name. That just made me mad. But I was trying to think of somebody for the Dodgers. Who was it? Okay, because it was Tommy Edman. That's what I was thinking about. Like I said, Tommy Edman, he's been really impactful this season. Like I've been enjoying what he's been doing. Like obviously they're gonna talk. Obviously the media is gonna give Shohei Ohtani the attention and recognition, and he's well deserving of it. But Tommy Edman's been good to see too. Like we gotta acknowledge that Tommy Edman has also been good. Like he's been having a good year. I've been doing what he's been doing. Been playing some impactful baseball, being able to get some RBIs, just doing it all. So yeah. The Giants 13-7, solid start. I mean the Rockies are astonishing 3-15. They're somehow worse. They're somehow worse than the White Sox, which that is impressive. I don't know how you can be worse than the White Sox. If they win less than 41 games, that is truly special. The Diamondbacks are 12-8. Like the National League West is tough. Then you have the Rockies at the bottom of it. The National League Central, the Cubs at 13-9. Great job. The Brewers at 11-9. Good enough, I guess. The Reds at 10-10. I've yet to watch the Reds game, which is crazy. I feel like I watched most of the teams up here, except for the Reds. And it's probably somebody else that I'm missing. Because it has to be at least two teams I didn't watch if I haven't watched or not. I think that's possible. It's probably another team up here that I haven't watched this season. I think it is the Mariners, but yeah, the Reds. I've not watched the Reds game this season, and I've been watching baseball a lot this year. So, but yeah, the Reds they're 10-10 right now, and my Cardinals were 9-11. We've been super inconsistent. We started the season 3-0, which is baseball, so obviously they can be a fruit start. We're 9-11. The Nolan Arenado situation is so weird because this contract is too big to the point where we really can't trade him. Because even though we'll get a good return for him, it's gonna be hard to trade that contract away and really see like, oh, what team is trying to take him on. That's why it's so. I, I wish we were able to trade him, but we probably won't be able to. So that sucks. We won't. And I like Nolan Arenado, but it's just time to move on from him. He's not bad. I just think it's time to move on. The Pirates at 8-13. I think I've seen a few Pirates games. Maybe they can improve. The Braves being 6-13 in the National League East, that's really surprising to me. I would not expect them to be that low. Like I thought they'd be like middle of the pack, but man, the Nationals at 7-12, the Marlins at 8-11, and those three have just been inconsistent and bad this year. That's interesting. The Phillies and Mets, they've been good this year. Like I said, I'm not going to do a super deep dive into baseball. I'm just looking at the standings, talking about each team. Maybe next week I'll go into some players who have been standouts. Yeah. Next week on the podcast, I'm going to do standouts, talk about the players who have been standouts in the MLB this season. I think that's going to make for a good one. And then, who am I? What am I thinking of? Oh, yeah. So yeah, we talked about. I gave my NHL playoff predictions. I talked about baseball. Talked about the Pro Volleyball Federation. Did my recap for TNA Unbreakable. So it's only right that we do athletes of the week now. For the NBA, and unfortunately this week I wasn't able to write everybody down and write everything down. So I'm kind of just trying to go off from memory. But for WWE, I'm going with Carmelo Hayes. I'll be at WrestleMania weekend. So next week, WrestleMania will be a part of next week's athletes of the week. But WrestleMania weekend, Carmelo Hayes won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial. So he is the athlete of the week for WWE, in my opinion. For TNA, I will that barbed wire massacre. It was a really fun match. I just think wrestling companies need to calm down on matches like that. But Sami Callihan, he's worthy of athlete of the week for TNA. I'm not going to deny it, and I don't try to fake it, nothing like that. For AEW, I'm going to Mercedes Moné. Her match with that I haven't seen Collision yet. I definitely got to check that out. But her match with Athena on Dynamite was really good, and her getting a win it made sense. Like even if Athena won, I wouldn't have been mad at it. Mercedes, he deserved to get that win. For the NBA, I'm gonna go with Tyler Hero. Him having back-to-back good games in the play-in to get drafted. He's from the 10th seed all the way to 8 to make the playoffs, and him shooting lights out. Him just being playing at a high level in those Heat games. That's very impressive, and he was able to get them to the playoffs. So shout out to Tyler Hero for the NBA, and I'm not a fan. Like I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm the biggest fan of Tyler Hero. Like I said that he shouldn't be an All-Star, and he proved me wrong in the play-in tournament and proved why he should be an All-Star. So I'm gonna give my respect to him. Shout out Tyler Hero. For the Pro Volleyball Federation, Morgan Hintz for the Atlanta Vibe. She's gotten them up to the 2nd seed now in the PBS, and it's not much season left. It's about 5 or 6 games left in the season, and she's been able to lead them all the way up to the 2nd seed. So that's my athlete of the week for the PBF. I'm trying to see if there's anything I'm forgetting. A lot of most of the hockey games, some of the season was already set, so some of the star players weren't really playing. But so I'm not gonna do one for the NHL this week, and I didn't see enough games this week because I tried, but this week it's been super busy. So I'm not. I'll give it to Tommy Edman this week for the MLB. I think he's had another good week. So yeah, that's going. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Because that should wrap it up for athletes of the week. And if that's all, then I shouldn't. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. So I'm trying to see. Yeah, that wraps it up. So that's gonna wrap it up. A weekly sports talk with Ed, episode 42. Did my playoff predictions. Did talked about TNA Unbreakable. Talked about the MLB. Talked about the Pro Volleyball Federation. Gonna head out. So make sure you leave a like on this live if you're watching the playback or if you're watching it now. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you comment and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace.